Hi everyone, it's Karen. I'm back to share my second design team project for the month of March for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy. And Kim has a wonderful store on Etsy with beautiful, beautiful laces and trims and papers and blings, and that's just to name a few. She charms, and you just need to go and check her out. I will have links to the shop in the description box below. She also has a great Facebook page and also an Instagram. And in both of those places, you often get heads up on new stock that's going in the store, so you know what's arriving and when it goes in. Her shop is a very busy shop, very popular, and she sells out really quickly. So if you see something and you're interested, get over there and grab it because it doesn't last. I know she's got a lot of new stuff coming in the next few weeks. Again, just like everywhere else, shipments have been delayed and things have been trickling in slowly, but I know she's got some exciting new stuff going in the store. I also will leave links in the description box below to the other designers who are on the team, so you can go over and have a look at what they are making with the beautiful things from her store, and we hope to inspire you. My design team project is a fairy book, and it's a doily and lace book. I used the beautiful blue doilies that were in my design team package, and then a lot of the trims, also some trims from my stash, and from last month I think too I showed. I still had some bits left. I also used things from my own stash. The blue lace on the sides is from a little girl's dress that I got in a thrift purchase, and I used it in this book. It's primarily blue, cream, and white, and fairies is definitely the theme. I've made several of my tatted butterflies. There's one on the front here. I've also made several of my beaded butterflies. There's 5 tatted butterflies in the book. There are 9 of the beaded butterflies. There are 2 flower fairies. One of them is on the front cover here, and I do have a tutorial on my channel on how I create my flower fairies, and I will link it in the description box below, but it's also on my channel if I forget, or you can remind me if I've forgotten and you can't find it. And there's also 7 handmade stick pins that I've put in this book as well. This little flower fairy is made with 3 little white flowers with pearl stamens. I did stickle on her to give her some extra sparkle. I used a flower that I cut part away for her wings, and then just a pearl bead and a rondelle and some bling from my stash and some little flowers in her hair. And this particular flower fairy has some pearls dripping down from her as well. And I'll show you the one inside the book after. This front cover, this is a beautiful trim from Kim's shop. I know she has it in the shop now, and if it isn't sold out, and it's very popular, and I used it last month. I cut the dangles off and just used it as an actual trim, and I've used it in many different ways. This time I cut some of the dangles off, just kept 4 on each side of the image here. I did apply some of my own flat back pearls in blue and in white in a couple of different sizes there. All the images in this book are printed onto a silky fabric, and then I've also stitched on this. This time I decided, because I'm really into hand stitching, I stitched on all of them. I've done these little white flowers all over, lazy daisy flowers all over her dress. They all have blue French knots in the center, and they also have beads scattered, so there's a lot of texture when you touch this. This I made into a bouquet in her hand with a bunch of blue straight stitches and then blue beads in the center. I've scattered blue beads throughout her hair, blue French knots, sorry, and then added some little white French knots as well, some looser than others, so they take on a slightly different appearance. I've scattered those through her hair as well. I've added stickles to her wings in this particular one. Had a lot of fun with these images, doing something a little different this time. A lot of detail, but I had a lot of fun. This little cluster of of flowers were the rolled roses that were in Kim's shop at one point. I know she sold out. She's probably trying to get more. They're very beautiful. And I had 3 left and they just looked perfect there. I added a few little blue acrylic flowers from my stash in amongst them. And the stick pin, this one is done with a crystal bead, a crystal looking like bead with a blue center in it, some pearls, a rondelle, and some bead caps. And in the corner here is a little dangle piece done on one of Kim's bulb pins. I put some pearl beads on there and a couple little charms. She does have charms in her shop. These 2 are not from her shop. They're just ones from my stash. And then I use the same trim at the bottom. It goes all the way around to the back. And I added a few flat back pearls on the bottom here. And the edge, as I said before, is from a little girl's dress. First 2 pages. So this I did French knots on her dress and some back stitch, added in some little applique flowers and some blue sequins with some French knots in the center, and some more French knots around this flower here. And then I did some stitching on the sides and added in some beads. There was sort of the look on the image of a little bit of a garden behind her, so I just accented it with some green stitches and then added in some beads. She had a little bird sitting here on her hand, so I embroidered the bird in brown with a bit of red, and I did the wings as well so that it's still obviously a little bird sitting on her hand. I did a little thing of flowers in her hair in a silver thread and did the stickles on her wings. This trim here is a beautiful trim from Kim's shop that I have used a lot in the last month and this month in my projects. It's a floral trim with a dangle, and I like to cut out the flowers and use them, sometimes just the flowers like you see in the top corner here. This is one here, or with the leaves hanging down. Did a little bit on a diagonal to give more interest. And then this is a lace from Kim's shop as well. This is the white vintage one. It's wider, but I just cut 1 row of them and put it here and added some beads and acrylic flowers there. A couple more of my beaded butterflies. And this little dangle is a beautiful piece from Kim's shop with the pearls and the rondelles that she had. And I put it on one of the bulb pins and added in some blue beads and pearls on there as well. And then there's another stick pin. All the stick pins are put in the book with a rubber stopper on the end so that they will not fall out of the book, although they can be removed. I put them so that you can easily, like this one, you would just tip it and you can see the little, it's an earring back. So it's a little rubber earring back. And so you could take it out if you wanted to, and if not, it's hidden in behind that lace there, so it's not super obvious. And the stick pins are all done with just different beads that I had in the blue colors, rondelles, little crystal beads, whatever I had, I put them together. And sometimes I actually cut, like on this one, I cut the top off of this one and I created my own topper with a little spacer bead. And looks like a little flower. And I just glue that on with E6000 and it stays quite stable. This page is my pocket page in this little Fabric and Doily book, and every other page has a blue doily in the background from Kim's shop, so this one has the blue doily, as did the front cover. This is that beautiful floral trim she had in her shop, and I cut it all apart, and it had all these different flowers on it, and I've put those around. I made the pocket out of a doily, a piece of a doily that I had in my stash, and added in one of Kim's flowers there in the center and just some seam binding and one of the pretty wooden buttons from her shop. And this image, I actually stitched it right onto a little doily that I had in my stash. Kim does have doily packs in her shop. This doily did not come from that, but she does have doilies, other doilies available. And I just did all kinds of stitches in with a mix of embroidery floss and metallic threads to create her after I'd cut her out of the fabric, and then stitched her onto this doily. Again, a couple more of my beaded butterflies. This one is actually attached to the stick pin, and so it's loose, like it moves on there, and it's on a little jump ring. This is a trim from Kim's shop that I had in my design team package. It's the embroidered trim, and was perfect down the edge of the pages where the outside cover and the back have the blue, and then I used this down the edge of the other pages. This was also a trim. This trim here was in my kit, the one kit I got in my design team package. I didn't use it in my other project, but it was a perfect fit for the bottom of this page. This little book is 5 by 6, the pages, but that doesn't include this edging or the dangles on the bottom. With the extra dangle on, or lace on the side, it's 6 1/4 inches wide, and with the extra on the bottom it's an additional 2 inches, so it's 8 inches long. But I just sort of quote the size of the page because that gives you an idea of the book. It's a really nice size book. It feels really nice in your hand. It's got lots of texture, and it's just a nice size to hold on to. It's not too big. This one I did little words on here. I did fairy dust, and this is another dangle from Kim's shop that she had with the pearl and the stars on it and the rondelle beads. So pretty. She gets in such pretty charms, and I just attached that with a ball pin. And then in this pocket is the second flower fairy, and this one I created with one of the flowers from Kim's flower pack that she sent me. This was one of the beautiful big paper roses, and I stickled it so it's nice and shiny, because every fairy would be shiny and sparkly. And like I said, there is a tutorial on how I do my flower fairies, and of course there's 1,000,001 renditions that you can make once you know the general idea. But this is made with a long bead cap. This is a bead spacer, or a spacer that I used, a floral spacer. I used part of that, some pearl beads and some little bit of lace, and to create her. And I put a clasp on the top so she could be clipped onto something if you wanted to take her out of there. Another one of Kim's those little flowers, like over here on the back. Just thought it would be cute to have a fairy in that pocket. And she just kind of peeks out the top there. Make sure her wings are okay. The next 2 pages are just, again, the silk fabric with the fairy pictures on them, and then I've done stitching on their wings. This one I used a bit of a silky thread that had a shine to it, and I used a variegated thread that had the green, the blue, and a bit of that pink in it. So as I stitched, it just came out wherever it came out. And then I added some more of the silky thread and some French knots to make little flowers down here. I stickled her dress in this one to do something different. I made a little embroidery headband with a little bow on it, with a wrapped center on her hair. I created her hair. I actually stitched all these little stitches in here in a sort of a light frosty gray color to give her a beautiful head of hair, because I didn't actually like the way her hair looked, so it's a great way to be able to reshape it. And a lot of the images I did do little things on them to change them by stitching on them. This one, I had this applique in my stash. Kim has had very similar appliques in her store. They go very quickly, so you can watch for them. I'm sure she'll get them in again. This one I had in my stash, so I added a bit on this page and on this one as well. These are some little tatted flowers over top her beautiful leaf trim. This was another trim from her shop. It looks like little butterflies or little dragonflies, and I added a couple pieces here, a couple more tatted butterflies. This lovely trim at the bottom here is back in her shop, I believe, and it is so pretty, and it's these gorgeous little dangles, and so I dangled that all off the bottom. This little charm was originally from her shop. I've had it in my stash for a while, waiting for the perfect fairy project, and this was definitely it. So that's on a bulb pin with some beads on it, just attached on the corner here. Again, every other page has a doily, so here's that blue doily, and behind here, this is that beautiful floral trim again, pieces cut. This around the photo here, just a way of showing you how to use dangles, is I use the dangles from this lace. So not only can it work as a dangle trim, but you can cut them individually, and I just ran them around the edge of this particular image, and I think it turned out really pretty. One of the little flowers that's on this floral lace is up in the corner here. Again, a couple more tatted butterflies. The glue strings are free and annoying, but I can't help but pick at them when I'm going through, so sorry about that. And I put some little clay flowers in the center of those. This is part of that applique, the same as on this side. I used a few little pieces of it, cut it and put it in this. I consider this my flower page. I used this cotton doily flower in behind here. They were in Kim's shop, as was this little ecru doily here. And then this is one of my beaded buttons, and I did use one of Kim's wooden buttons, the same one that's here. I used that to wrap the beads around, and there is a tutorial on my channel explaining how I do that. And just some clusters here with some other little tatted flowers. Oh, I forgot to mention the stick pin on this one is blue and a little bit not as fancy, not as long, but pretty. And this one here is a shorter pin with one of Kim's flowers from her shop and two of the leaves. So those, I've stuck the pin through them and added stickles to them, and then put some crystal beads and a rondelle on there and tuck that into the floral arrangement here. This trim along the bottom here of this page where these flowers, 3 flowers are hanging down, is part of that one floral trim, this one, I believe. And again, I put the white lace down the side. This image is, her dress is stickled. I did a stitched little bow on her, and I stitched some little French knots in her hair, and I did silver stitching all on her wings to accent her wings on that one. The last 2 pages, and there is a bit of bulk there from the flower fairy. This one, I added a piece of the lace that's on the side of the pages here. I had a little piece left, so I added it to the bottom of her dress. I've stitched all through her dress with back stitches, and then I've stickled on top of it. In her hair, I've stitched with the silver thread, winding it through what looked a little bit like a trim that was wound through her hair, a string, but I accented it all, added silver French knots, also added some little blings in there as well to really make her hair a big statement. You can see the edge of her wing here is stickled. She also had a little bird in her hand, so I stitched that little bird in with very, very tiny little back stitches with the blue sparkly thread, and that is what you see there. Tatting across the top of the page, some of my own, and a little tatted flower. This trim here is part of a trim that was in Kim's shop that had these dragonflies on it, and I just used the edge of that trim to trim out the image here. Under here you can see again those flowers that I cut up and used from that trim here with just 2 leaves, a little butterfly sitting on top. Here I've got a couple of just the leaves, because when I use the flowers I save the leaves and then I can use them to make a cluster like that. This is a little doily with another little doily inside and the butterfly. This beautiful trim was in Kim's shop, a little bit left of it, so it fit perfectly there. And of course, this is her pretty leaf trim hanging out the bottom here. And then this was a lovely piece of lace that was in the one kit I got this month. And so I put that up the side and also used it to edge the side of this particular image. I just brought it over the edge, and I actually cut an extra little piece to come in here so that it covered it nicely. And I put the little dragonfly in the corner. I'd put some blue stickles and some bling on it. And this is another of the stick pins that I created, and again that little rubber stopper is hidden behind the dragonfly there. Oh, and in the corner here I just put some beads that say dream, and a little bead, a little shiny bead. I just think, when I think of fairies, angels, I think of sparkly things and pretty things and wishes and dreams, and so that's what I included in. And I don't know if you've ever heard the story, but they say that dragonflies carry angels on their backs. So I wanted to include a dragonfly in here because although it's a fairy themed, a lot of times there's a crossover between fairies and angels and how people see them. This is the last page. And this is a beautiful trim from Kim's shop that had the ability to run a ribbon through it. So I had used this ribbon around some of the images. So I put that through there. This is another one of her floral trims that I had a few pieces left of. So I added those here. This floral, the beige one in behind here, the three here, that was part of a lace that I got again in that kit for this month for crafting, and I used quite a bit of it on the bag that I created earlier this month, but I had these three pieces left, and so I used them there. And I believe, yeah, this beading, this sort of looks like beading around the edge here, that was also on that trim, and I did the blue ribbon around the edge, and then I added the beading on top. And this is a piece from one of her trims. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's the one that looks like this, and it has this along the top. Sometimes I cut it off and don't use it, but I save it, and here I used it to frame the top of this image. Used just a little doily from my stash, top and bottom, for a little more bringing in the creamy color that I had here in this lace. Another stick pin here, this one done with different beads and spacers and rondelles, and this one has the dark blue beaded butterfly on it. And her dress, I used a wool, really pretty blue wool to stitch her dress with, and then did another stitch on top. I wound the silver thread through, and then I added the beads all along the bottom of her dress. And then I stitched with stitches all on the top of her dress in a light blue with silver. Outlined the wings in silver and stickled them in. And this one I put wishes on here. This is a lace that was also in my design team package for this month, and this was in the kit. So the kit that came with there was varying lengths in that kit, kind of like getting a snippet kit. And she has those in the shop so that you get a variety, and those work great to make these kind of books because you get lots of variety to use. In this corner, another repeat of one I already used in the book, but I just love this charm, the pearls and the rondelle, and I've just put it here on a piece of blue ribbon and a little blue flower holding that in place. And then the back is the one doily. I put it on the side of the book and wrapped it to the front and the back. So that's the back, you're seeing the back of it there. Just some lace from my stash to cover over to make the pages. And then this cluster is flowers from her different flower trims. This was one, this is another one. So there's three different ones represented here. And then I've added my own flat back pearls and bling to them, and then added a couple of charms. She did have this fairy charm in her shop. I think she's sold out right now. And then this is a little heart from my own stash. And then of course there's the rest of that trim that I wrapped around all the way to the back and added my own flat back pearls. And it's such a pretty dangle trim. It makes a really pretty dangle. And this book has a lovely, 2 inches of dangles on the bottom, so it's quite nice. And it has a nice weight, feels really nice in the hand. Little fairy on the side here, she's just hooked onto the lace. She could be removed if you wanted to. You can see there the top, you can see the different layers to it and the colors and the beads showing through as well. And that's how the bottom looks. So this is my design team project, my second one for the month of March, and I had a lot of fun making it and doing all the accents and stitching on all the images. I hope you enjoyed seeing her, and she will be for sale. If anyone's interested, they can contact me. My email is on my channel, and I also will leave it in the description box below. I do ship I'm in Canada, I have to ship from Canada. My projects, I don't charge a lot for them, and then you have to pay for the shipping. So if you're interested, just contact me and I'll let you know. And don't forget to check out the shop and check out the other designers. And I hope you're all having a wonderful week, staying healthy and happy and crafting and spending time with your families. And I will see you all soon. Bye for now.